Marine Vigilante by Leanne Jones, VA Medical Center, Kansas City, Missouri. I was sitting in the therapist's waiting room at the VA hospital when I realized I was sitting next to another Marine whom I knew. I struck up a conversation. "Hi, how are you?" "I'm fine, how are you?" Actually, I was sitting here waiting to see my therapist, just thinking about what happened in 1999. I do a lot of thinking, especially in the middle of the night, 0-30. So what do you think about? Oh, about the time my kids were over for their weekend visitation when they were 16, 14, and 12 years old. That was about 10 years after you lost full custody of them to your ex, wasn't it? Yes, how well you know me. Anyway, that particular visitation was the beginning of a long spring and summer that I still have thoughts about today. My friend began the story as follows. I was retired from the U.S. Marine Corps Wallace Staff Sergeant in July 1991. 8 years later, I was working as a COBOL computer programmer for a bank. I was working on the Y2K conversion project. My boss's name was Bruce. My son Brian was 14 years old when he came home late that Saturday afternoon. He told me that he had been with his friend Chris at the corner grocery store. Chris, who was also 14 years old, bought marijuana from a drug dealer. I asked Brian whether he bought any drugs. He said that he had not bought any. I told him I was proud of him. Then I asked him to describe the drug dealer, what kind of car he drove. Brian told me that the dealer drove a late 80s model sea green car and that the drug dealer was a young man in his mid to late 20s. I thanked Brian for the information and I told him not to go near Chris or the drug dealer again.